because we had rookie minicamp at the Quest Diagnostics Training Center, but this was not your mother's rookie minicamp, which usually features, 50-plus players between, qualifying players on the roster, undrafted free agents, rookie tryouts, veteran tryouts, your draft picks. They only had just over 20 guys there this weekend, so there was no team stuff, no one-on-ones, no competitive drills, let alone practice periods. So very, very limited in what we could see.
Yeah, that's strange. I mean, obviously, you hit the nail on the head. There wasn't any really football stuff, right? No, nothing competing. No one-on-one stuff. It was, hey, rookies, come on in. Let's get you in the building and let's indoctrinate you to the National Football League. This is how it's going to be for either the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. But
here's your locker. This is where you get your food. There's the bathroom. Enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly, John. This is how you do things. This is the equipment room. Find shoes that work. I say that because
now here's the question: Did you actually say that on purpose, or was that a joke? Okay,
I did say that on purpose. It's funny because Coach Sweatman. Now, do you remember Coach Sweatman? Was he here when you first started?
I caught the very end of him.
Okay, so Mike Sweatman, just a little history. He was a special teams coach back in the day with Bill Parcells. I mean, he's been around. So here's the thing: he was my special teams coach when I first got here, and he would be in a meeting, and this was always about the rookies.
Now you know what, Jeff? I think I just missed him, but I've heard you talk about him enough, which is why the name rang a bell.
I love him.
Yes,
absolutely one of my favorite coaches to play for because he just was just a guy that knew everything. He just had been in the league forever. But he used to say in the meetings, we would be watching film, and if a rookie would ever slip or thing, and he would always say to the guy, "What happened there?" And the player would be like, "Well, coach, I slipped." And he goes, "Well, then find some shoes that work." It was really, and it is funny because he kept saying it all the time. And so with the Kadarius Toney thing with the shoes this weekend, I got a chuckle out of that because find some shoes that work because you're a rookie.
And by the way, the funny thing is that one shoe worked fine. So maybe his feet are different shapes or something like that a little bit. So you need a little bit of a different deal. It was weird. But
you know what?
By the way, I should stress, because I know a lot of people did, and Jeff, you can keep going. But I just want to make sure people understand that his absence from some of the actual periods where they were doing some, team stuff was not injury related.
Sure.
Based on what the team told us. So just wanted to get that out there before, Jeff. You can continue on your shoe soliloquy.
I got to play golf yesterday, and everybody was asking me about the Giants and the rookie camp, and it's just a normal conversation that I have on the golf course while you're walking down the fairway. But I was telling people that when you're a rookie, especially coming into the league, you're basically at the end of your collegiate career, where you're a senior or a junior in a lot of cases, but you're the upperclassman, right? So it's just like when you came into college as a freshman, you were a rookie and you got to learn the ropes. Well, it's the same thing when you come to the National Football League as a rookie. It's football. Don't get me wrong. There's still 11 on each side. But the fact is that you're now in the new building. And like you said, John, they got to show everybody where everything's at. And I do remember my head was spinning when I was a rookie coming into the first minicamp and just seeing everybody there. And the one thing the rookies have not seen, and I don't know how many people are showing up or not showing up for the second phase of the off-season programs and this and that, but these rookies have been watching these players on TV for a while. And, I remember just seeing the look in some of these players' eyes when they walk in and saw Eli Manning. Oh, my God, that's Eli Manning. Wow.
Oh, sure, when you were in Philadelphia when they saw Reggie White.
Exactly. You just that's Reggie White?
Right. Yeah.
He looks much bigger than he does on TV.
And by the way, I bet you that was their response for Eli, too. That's one of the most common responses you get for Eli Manning. When people see him, they're like, wow, I didn't realize Eli was that big of a dude.
He is tall. That's the big thing. He's slim and, he's well built, but he's tall. Man, is he tall. But, for those rookies, John, it's just a matter of feeling everything out and, the coaches want to get a head start so that they don't have to, when everybody does get together, the rookies are the last thing they want to think about, because those guys, most of them are not going to be playing on a consistent basis other than the first 2 or 3 round draft pick guys. But, there's not a lot they want to make sure that you guys know where everything's at. This is how we're going to do things. Here's the systems that we're going to run. After this is over, you need to study these kinds of things. So it's a get to know you. And then, of course, there's a couple guys that get brought in and, they work out, and not as many as normal, like you mentioned, John. But there are some people that come into the building, they go out on the practice field, and lo and behold, they leave with a contract. And that's always a great thing. And there was a couple of those things that happened this weekend, so it was kind of nice to see.
Jeff, perfect segue. And we'll talk more about the rookie class, by the way. I have a couple of fun questions here for Jeff that we can debate back and forth on. Nothing we're going to be held to, but just something we can have fun with today. Because, again, the guys really didn't do a whole lot on the field, so there's not much to really analyze from what they did. The Giants did sign a couple of veterans that came out and tried out for the Giants during the week. And the two names that should be pretty familiar to Giant fans, Corey Clement, the running back from the Philadelphia Eagles, who spent his first 4 years there. Whenever Miles Sanders was hurt, which was fairly often the last few years, he was one of the guys that would step in, along with not Trey Boston, help me out, Boston Scott, thank you, and guys like that. So he's shown he's an NFL caliber running back, and he's another guy then with Devontae Booker. You have behind Saquon Barkley, which will be good to see. And then the other guy is Kelvin Benjamin, who was drafted as a wide receiver by Dave Gettleman in Carolina. Eventually, I would assume not intentionally, kind of morphed into a tight end or just an overweight wide receiver. Yeah. And now he's just a tight end. Yeah. And he tried out as a tight end. I think he was 245 on the roster where they had that out there. That's obviously not wide receiver weight. That's a tight end weight. So two guys that Giant, and he had a couple really good years when he was a receiver early in his career, Kelvin Benjamin. When he was in Carolina, had a cup of coffee with the Bills as well. So those are the guys that are going to at least have a chance to compete now for a roster spot once they get to, training camp in the summer, Jeff.
Well, remember Calvin Benjamin's name was floating around a few years ago when the Giants were kind of thin at wide receiver. Do you remember that? He was out. He hadn't played since, 2019, was it? I mean, it's been a while.
I got to check. I don't even know, to be honest.
It's been a while. So, but listen, I think that, when I'm reading about the Giants, and as we know, we talk about this all the time about Joe Judge and the coaching staff and what they expect out of these players. They love to see guys play multiple positions, right? So, this is a chance that maybe they got together and said, hey, let's bring this guy in, and let's just, obviously we know he can catch the football. Let's see maybe how we can maybe make him a little bit of a flex tight end and, get a bigger body on one of those smaller corners or safeties and see what we can do as far as a mismatch.
All right, Kelvin Benjamin last took a snap in 2018.
2018. Wow. So, okay. Yeah.
Buffalo and Kansas City. I forgot he was even with Kansas City for 3 games, but he was.
Yeah, but I remember that one year when the Giants were, they're just decimated by injuries, that this was a name that some people were throwing around. And but
his last really big year, I guess, was 2016, 63 catches, 941 yards. Then for Buffalo and Carolina in 2017, he had 48 catches for 692. In 2018, again, combination Bills and Chiefs, he played in 15 games, had 25 catches on 67 targets. That's not a great percentage, Jeff, for 380 yards at a touchdown.
Maybe that's why he went out of the league for a few years.
I think that might be.
Well, I take that back then. Obviously, he can catch the football. Well, in 16 and 17, he had some pretty good numbers there.
Well, again, just because he has a lot of targets and not a lot of receptions doesn't mean it's a drop. It might just be that it's a bad pass or it gets knocked away, whatever.
Over his head, exactly, thrown behind him. But, and I think that you really get an idea from some of these rookies, bringing them in and just trying to test them out in different positions. And I think the Giants evidently saw something that they liked. Had a chance with the 90-man roster that you can afford to sign some of those guys sometimes.
All right, how about Corey Clement? Your thoughts on that?
Depth, right? I think the Giants are very well aware of him, at least the fans are. I mean, I think that's just one of those things where I think you can't stress enough that the importance of the competition behind Saquon Barkley, and also the fact that you have 2 veterans now being able to come in, and if Saquon cannot play right away and get some reps, you got 2 guys that have been in the league long enough to know and can get the job done at a certain level.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's another good veteran. And look, they did not have a lot of, veteran experience in that room. So I think it's important. He played only 4 games in 2019. Didn't really have any numbers, but in 2020, he rushed it 21 times for 75 yards. Then you go back 2017 and 2018 as a rookie, 74 rushes, 321 yards, 68 rushes, 259 yards. That was in 2018. He does have 37 career catches in 46
Yeah, I was going to ask you about his receiving.
So he can catch the ball a little bit, which is good. and he'll be another guy that they'll have behind Saquon that'll have a chance to compete with the other guys on the roster as you kind of thicken out that group.
Yeah, and I mean, you got the young guy, Gary Brightwell, that they brought in from the University of Arizona, special teams guy, so you can't really, expect him to be the starter behind, well, not a starter, but if something happened that he would become a starter. So I think you feel comfortable with Booker and Clement, those guys behind Saquon, and then Brightwell, the guy that can just start to learn the system and really go in and contribute on a lot of special teams. That's what you'll see from him.
Yeah. No question about it.
Although Clement is he a returner at all, John? I don't know if you still have his stats up there, but I don't remember him. Yeah, well,
he
I think I remember him doing a kickoff returns.
I think you're right. Yes, he had 7 punt returns and 19 kick returns in his career with the Eagles.
Okay, so a little bit, yeah.
Well, that's good. It's not the guy that can do a little bit of everything, which is not bad.
That's right. Yeah, and that's the MO for these players that the Giants like to bring in. They want more guys that can do multiple things.
All right, so now we're going to have some fun with some questions, Jeff, because like I said, we really don't get to see a lot with the rookie minicamp. Like I wrote my takeaways for Giants.com today for rookie minicamp, and basically all I wrote was that Ellerson Smith and Azeez Ojulari looked the part, right? Ellerson Smith is tall, he's long, he's well-built. Ojulari is a guy that's thicker, a little bit shorter, but he certainly looks strong. He's got a little burst to him, so that's really all you can see from the rookie minicamp stuff. There's really not much to take out of it, and frankly, the players didn't say a whole lot in their media availabilities either. So, I wish I had more for you guys. I don't. And I'm watching these guys on the patio with binoculars from 50 yards away that also limits what you're able to see. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Now the good news, Jeff, is that and unfortunately we're still not allowed on the field yet because of protocol. So
yeah, sure.
That's kind of what the deal is. So hopefully that gets solved sooner rather than later.
Well, one thing you did get is the numbers of the players.
Yeah, and it seems like that none of those are going to be permanent. So not really.
I know. At least for short-term purposes, right?
Giant fans, I will say to you, don't go out there and buying rookie jerseys now, okay? Because there's a good chance once the season starts that these jerseys will not be the ones that they have at the start of the year. Just saying.
Yeah, there's 90 numbers right now, and they got to get down to 53 of them. So, and there's however many guys are still left on the team that have their own numbers. So there's not a lot to choose from. So,
all right, here's some fun questions, Jeff. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, question number 1 for Mr. Feagles. Jeff? What Giant rookie will have the most snaps this year? Offense, defense, special teams,
we're talking
together.
about draft picks, right? Obviously.
Well, I mean, if you want to pick an undrafted guy, feel free. You're going to be wrong, but you could try that.
I know. Which guy will have the most snaps? That's going to be Azeez Ojulari will have the most snaps.
Interesting. Why do you think he's going to have more snaps than Tony, say?
I think he's going to be a starter. Number 1.
Week 1?
So week 1 he will be. I think it'll be the 2 Georgia bookends. I think it'll be Carter and Ojulari. Those are my 2 guys I'm penciling in as starters. At this point. Very, very, very knee-jerk reaction right there. I haven't really gone into it much, but I think they will. Kadarius. I think that he's going to he's going to be one of those guys where situational stuff and design plays. I read on the website the other day that Joe Judge was mentioning the fact that they'll design a lot of plays that he had at Florida. So a little bit of, being able to recognize some of those things and be comfortable in that play selection. So I just don't think he's going to get on the field as much. But I think it's going to be a lot, John. I mean, it will, but I still think the Ojulari will have more.
Okay, I agree. That would have been my choice as well.
Would you have gone there too?
Yes,
okay.
I would have. I'm with you. I think he's going to be a starter week 1 as well. So I happen to agree with you on both those counts. I thought I was going to be the lone wolf on that.
Good minds think alike, John.
Yeah, apparently.
Don't let anybody tell you other than that.
Look, if there was and look, we don't know how Lorenzo Carter is going to come back from his injury either. Those Achilles injuries can be brutal. If he's healthy, though, I'm with you. I think he's one of the starters, and I think Ojulari is probably the other one. But there's so many guys in that room. Maybe one of the veterans holds him off for a couple weeks, and then in week 3 he steps in there. But I think at some point this year, sooner rather than later, Ojulari will be the starter. Okay, this is rookie-related.
Yes.
Rank 1 through 4. 1 being the player with the most snaps, 4 being the player with the least number of snaps of the Giants' top 4 wide receivers. Assuming that don't assume injury. Assuming they're all going to be healthy every game.
Okay, so the number one will be definitely going to be Galladay.
Okay.
He will have the most snaps because he'll be in there every.
That's the easy one. That's the easy one.
That's an easy one. Yeah. Number two, I would go with Shep. Okay. Again, we're not talking about injuries here, so everybody's healthy.
So this is almost like a snaps per game prediction, not necessarily a
sure.
total. Right.
This is where it gets interesting. I think in the third position, wow, because I'm trying to figure out who that third starter is. Is it going to be Kadarius or is it going to be Slayton? I'll go with Slayton. I think those three guys will be your three. And then the fourth will be Kadarius.
Does Kadarius break the 50% barrier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you think him and Slayton will be... Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Well, I'm sorry. No, I would not be surprised if those numbers 3 and 4 were switched.
Do you think either one of those guys get above 60% of the snaps, Slayton and Tony?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, on the field, or like 60% of the catches, or 60% of the plays?
60% of the snaps.
Wow. No, I don't.
I agree with you. Wow. Okay, we're ridiculously on the same page here, which is no fun. No, I think everything you say is right. I think, Shepard is going to be their most reliable separator and route runner, so I think you kind of have to have him on the field a lot. So yeah, I'm with you. I think you're right on that. All right, who will have more?
We're both on it then.
Yes,
not just
I
me.
agree. Who will have the most
you in there.
defensive snaps this year? Aaron Robinson or Darnay Holmes?
Boy, that's a good one.
I know. That was one of my favorites, actually. I like that one.
Well, wow. I think there's a reason that they drafted Robinson in the third pick, right? In the
third round.
Yeah, third. I mean, third round, but third pick for the Giants. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I like Darnay. I think Darnay will, because it's very difficult. And being a third rounder, there's still a little bit of learning that you still need to do. Your first and second rounders, you're expecting to play right away. I think your third rounders, if you can give me 60% of the plays, sometimes 50% of it. So I think having Holmes here last year and then coming into the second year of this defense, I think that Coach Graham will find a way to get him on the field, because I thought he did okay. I thought he was improving, and I think that's what you want to see. So I think he will. I'm guessing you're going to go against me here.
This is a tough one. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, it could be close. It could be even.
I think it is going to be close to even, but just to be different, I'll go Robinson, and that's just because, Jeff, I really feel like this team is going to want to play more of a physical man-to-man defense, and I think that probably lends itself to Robinson a little bit more. I almost think it's going to be matchup-based every week, right? Like if they're facing
that makes sense.
A really, really quick, fast wide receiver in the slot, then maybe we'll see Darnay Holmes. But, let's say they play, for example, I'm going to bring up the Giants' schedule here. I'll go off the top of my head. Let's say they're playing Dallas and CeeDee Lamb's in the slot, right? Mm-hmm. I like Aaron Robinson against CeeDee Lamb more than I like Darnay Holmes because of the size and physicality, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a much better matchup. But let's say the Giants are facing the what's a team with a really quick slot receiver? Let's say they're playing the Bills, right? And they're playing Cole Beasley. Well, against Cole Beasley, maybe Darnay Holmes is the better matchup, right? Because he's, super quick, super fast, and he's a better cover for a receiver like that. So that's how I think it's going to go. I could go either way depending on, how these guys actually play. But what the heck? I'll go with the rookie. I'll go Robinson.
Okay.
It'll be close, though. I'm with you.
It'll be close. And I think you're spot on in the sense that, the way that Patrick Graham day to day, week to week changes his defense, I think it has to do a lot to do with matchups. And I think that not only at that position, but at all positions. So I think you make a great point, and I think it would be a week to week decision as long as Robinson can come in and compete and show that he can play that position.
Right. Like, for example, they play the Saints in week 4. If they put Michael Thomas in the slot, he will just box Darnay Holmes out like that whole game. He's not going to have a chance against him, right?
Sure. Yeah. And I do like the size, and Robinson is, historically reading about his statistics and just kind of his strengths. He's a good tackler.
Yeah.
So I like good tacklers at the cornerback position.
But let's say against the Chiefs and you have Mecole Hardman in the slot. Well, that might be a better matchup for Darnay Holmes. So that's kind of how I look at it.
This is going to be close, and it's just and because there's 17 games, there's if you have 16, we can say eight of them. It's going to be really close, 8-8. But I think it's going to be very, very close, and I wouldn't be surprised if Robinson was over, but I think it will be Darnay Holmes.
All right, final question.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants' last 3 picks: Brightwell, Rodarius Williams, Ellerson Smith. Which one of those players will play the most snaps? And that's including special team snaps.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
Well, I think that we know Ellerson Smith is up against a lot of people in that room, right? And being a 4th rounder, I think he'll get some playing time. But he's
out of a small school and didn't play last year.
Yep. So he's got a lot of learning to do. So he is going to be a special teams demon. Okay, he will play on all the 4 cores, they call them. So will Brightwell.
Well, you're assuming that. What happens if they keep Carter Coughlin active and Cam Brown active every day? They play special teams and Ellerson Smith's inactive.
Well, yeah, that could be too.
That's possible, right? I mean, I don't think that's impossible.
Yeah, because you can only obviously keep so many on game day.
And those 2 guys were core special teamers last year, especially Cam Brown.
Yeah, but I think Cam Brown's going to play a little bit more defense this year, so they'll take him off of some of those teams. Although, Judge doesn't do that all that often. I'm going to go with I am going to go with Brightwell because I feel like he's a guy that I don't think he's going to get any work at running back during the regular season. He's going to be like Eli Penny, a guy that plays all your special teams, is going to record, 25 snaps a game at special teams. So to answer your question, those 25 or 20 snaps a game over the course of the season, he'll have the most of these 3 players.
I think there's a chance that Brightwell doesn't make it.
Oh, really?
I think there's a chance. Now that they signed Corey Clement and they have Devontae Booker
sure.
and Saquon Barkley, and then what if they want to keep that quasi fullback on the roster too? That's 4 spots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to have 5 running backs active on game day, right?
No, but I think you are going to have Eli Penny act. He'll be there because he's a core special teams
guy.
Right.
I agree.
So that's 1. You got Saquon. That's 2.
You
got to have a backup.
Yep, that's 3.
That's 3. So there's 1 other one.
Right.
You're going to have 4.
And it could be Brightwell, but it could be somebody else too.
Yeah.
So just for that reason, I'm going to go Ellerson Smith. And, his physicality, his testing, Jeff, say he should be a good special teams player.
Yeah.
But I don't feel great about any one of these picks. It's kind of like, roll the dice and see what pops up. But I think it'll be interesting to see how they utilize all these guys.
I think off the top of my head, real quickly, I think that the running back position, if I had to pick between Booker and Clement, Booker makes it over Clement, and they keep Brightwell and Penny. So there's your 4.
There you go. 973-667-1960. Hey, Giant fans, let's get vaccinated. Go to covid19.nj.gov/vaccine to register. And don't miss out on your chance to experience a premier hospitality experience watching Giant games and world-class concerts in 2021 as a Giant Suite partner. Limited full-season locations are available, or place a deposit for individual games. Call 888-NYG-1925 or visit giants.com/suites for more information. Let's go to the phones. Jason in New Haven's up first. Jason, what's up?